Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over a bunch of teams for the Gems of War All the Rage event week, as well as some that will work pretty much whenever, like a Guai team, Tesla team, and a few things like that. Anyways, let's start all the way from the top with the current world event this week, which is a blue restriction, so basically you just bring your blue Guild War team over if you really want to, or whatever you tend to run for blue delves. However, you do have to keep in mind, we do have scaling off of both skulls and spell damage, and the most relevant thing there being spell damage, meaning Tesla is insanely broken. It ends up doing a bunch of true damage, scatter to all enemies, boosted by all ally and enemy armor, meaning that it scales with the enemy as they have higher armor. But the main thing that's broken by this is, generally speaking, when you give, or just always speaking, when you give more magic to Tesla, she does no additional damage based on that magic. However, spell damage increase is different from magic. Magic just increases your magic. It will make whatever you scale on your ability higher. So if you have something that's like 1 plus whatever your magic is, it'll do 1 plus whatever your magic. Tesla here has nothing that scales off its magic, so it just doesn't do anything there. However, one way that you can still scale it are things that do spell amplification. So things like Fairy Fire, spell damage increase off those tokens, stuff like that. So for an event like this, where she has access to those tokens, she does a absurdly high amount of damage, way higher than she was probably ever intended to do. And it is absolutely broken beyond belief. You just feed it immediately with a Princess Elspeth with Empower. You would create 11 gems of blue, which you kill out the Penguin. Reason for using Penguin is it gives a bunch of extra stats. Could use pretty much any pure blue you want there, but Penguin just works out a little bit better, as it gives a little bit more armor, which gives a little bit more damage, which allows you to kill a little bit easier. But the main premise is just Empower, kill it out, gain a bunch of mana accumulation, both the Teslas get full mana, then auto win, and just cast both your Teslas. Anyways, if you need a cheaper one, if you happen to not have Teslas rolling around, this does use still a bunch of legends. However, they are faction legends that are targetable. King Truffle, which is from the Amethyrex, as well as Mirage Queen, which is from Sunken Fleets. Also both troops you probably already have laying around. And Forest Trolls is being used here to double the amount of greens and be able to go and just get your double greens for your King Truffles, have them loop pretty much forever. And it's one of the most consistent, or actually probably the most consistent infinite loop in the entire game. So you can end up just doing that. Next we have our teams for... There's actually 2 sets of faction teams here. This first set is for the Tuesday faction event. The later one will be for the weekend one, as we do have a new deep delve coming in. This first one is for the Werewoods, and it is a... Oh gosh, it is a green-red restriction. So this does mean we have access to standard Rowan. Of course, your weapon can be anything you want. So pretty standard Rowan there, or Scare Shield on the Rowan. Rowan cast, you win. Leprechaun full mana off of Empower, get all your mana accumulation. Mirage Queen's there to 50% mana start the Rowan, and you're good to go. Next we have the one for deeper in those delves, where once again, you can end up running Tesla, since it is a red-green restriction. You do have access to Tesla, this time with Holy Saint Ashura, which this is used to give a 50% mana start. And also because you can't use that other strategy, because if you use that other strategy, you will end up killing out your last slot, and your last slot will be something different, because of course your team that you have does not get updated from battle to battle, or whatever it ends at is what it goes to the next fight. So unlike something like, for example, the current World event, where, you can kill out your last slot over and over and over again, it doesn't matter, it'll always be the same thing every single time. In factions, however, you're stuck with the same team for all the battles, so you can't just simply kill it out. So you have to go with a different strategy. In this case, since we have access to green, we can 50% mana start them that way. Next, we have ourselves the Pure faction, which is arguably one of the most annoying Pure factions in the entire game, the Werewoods Pure faction. The main gimmick for this is do not cast a Werebear, but use Werebear. You basically want your final team to be 1 Werebear and 1 Beastmaster at minimum for the final fight, and if you could bring even more than that, that's even better. However, basically, don't ever cast a Werebear until you're in the final fight. You're using him entirely for his very small amount of score reduction, as he's the tankiest thing that you have within this kingdom, and you're basically just looking to tank with him slightly. The main gimmick that everything has in this kingdom is that they will transform into Torburn, and Torburn will transform back into all the other 3 that are from the faction, being very, very annoying. Also curious to see exactly how this will work when they add another one, because will they update the ability? Because technically it'll be another one added to the mix, so we'll see exactly how that pans out. Because of course we're starting to get deep delves for a bunch of factions, but that will be figured out in many, many days from now, because that's probably like a year or 2 away. But anyways, as far as the Pure faction is concerned, it's one of the most annoying. You basically just wear a cap for your damage pressure. Werebear's your tank, just don't cast it. And you can cast your Beastmaster, but you want to make sure that you always have at least 1 Beastmaster in the mix, just so you can end up keep getting the scaling that you can keep getting from your extra turns, as well as just to make sure you don't have too many of the same type. as this completely randomly you end up transforming into, and you just don't want to have like a whole team of just all of the same exact thing. You want a little bit of a variety, and just kind of go from there. You always want to make sure you have at least one of them though, so that you can keep damage pressuring him, keep getting the scaling and all that from your abilities. Anyways, next up we have the Sentinel class event for this Thursday. The Sentinel class event, any number of ways that you want to run it with a pure Urska team. You can end up running it with the weapon that creates a bunch of mana accumulation. This one's a bit of a cheaper one that ends up just running with the 50% mana start off the Urskula into Summer's Fury. You can even just run 3 Spirit of Rages into Summer's Fury if you so wish, and then just change out the hero class. And basically with this, it's kind of like a Dawnbringer kind of build, except we're trying to get our red back. We're creating so many red, we're getting so much red link that we're just trying to double cast it, kill it out, and basically just quick kill the 25 gems on a Thursday event. This team can also be used for whenever you need to use a pure Urskia team this week, as that is, I believe, also one of the objectives for getting it done. Actually, one of the very first ones that needs to be done. Speaking of which, while it's a little bit lower down, there is a Explore team here. This one is specifically for covering all of your bases, or maybe not all, but a good number. So basically, every single campaign week, when we have to go do a bunch of campaigns, there are at minimum 3 objectives that are essentially always there. The weapon objective, the hero class objective, and the banner objective. And one of the easiest ways to combine it, if you haven't already been doing it, is just put it into a Rowan build, go to like really low level Explorer, like 1 to 4 or so, whatever you want to do it at, and just kill them that way. This can end up getting a bunch of very quick kills for whatever color you need. If it tells you like kill brown or something, if you need to kill like a specific type, like this week I'm pretty sure it's telling at one point to kill Urskia, you can quickly kill it with this, and Urskia Kingdom. It can cover pretty much most of your bases, and it covers 3 of the categories as well, as far as hero class, banner, and the weapon, which is why all of them are wrong for standard Rowan team, but correct for the current week's tasks. Anyways, next up we have ourselves the Weekend faction. So this is a different faction here, which is why they're all named with Weekend. They'll be noted in the description as well, which faction they're specifically for. Of course, as per usual, all the teams in this video will be in the description below if you want to go copy paste any of them. So this first one that we have here, or all 3 of these, is for the Weekend faction event of Sea of Sorrows. Sea of Sorrows is a brown-blue restriction, and of course, as per usual, weapon can be whatever you want. So for this, since we have access to brown, this is a pretty standard Guard Avatar Surquan and Hadley team. It's kind of centered around a little bit of Mercy into Essence of Evil, because why not? You can build it however you want. Just go into Guard's Avatar, kind of the alternative Rowan option route. Though technically you can go Rowan, you do have access to blue, so if you want to build like blue Rowan, you can end up doing so as well. Next up, we have ourselves the level 100 to 500, so when you get a little bit deeper, this is a strategy I don't normally show. Though it figured just to mix it up a little bit here. So obviously Hiking Iron get into Angry Mob, that's kind of standard mana accumulator there. However, the hero class is a bit of an interesting one. So of course hero classes have the capability of poisoning a random enemy when matching for gems. So one thing that you can end up doing between Essence of Evil and that ability, of course, is setting up a Scorpious. This weekend, of course, on this exact day that this is happening, we are getting that really useless mythic that is coming, the Scorpio one, that is basically just weaker Scorpious. So I figured might as well show at least one team with stronger Scorpious, and basically just a poison strategy. We're using Essence of Evil and the poison that you have off of level 70 on a poisoning hero class. This is specifically off a Shadow Tree, so one that you might already have it on if you don't want to go this hero class is Thief hero class, as it's generally the strongest thing with Shadow Tree. Anything they have, or Orb Weaver, if you want to run it that way. But anything that you have that has it, you can just run this trait, end up getting some extra poison, do it with Essence of Evil, ideally 50% mana start one like this one, so you can get Essence of Evil up a bit quicker, get a bunch of poison down, double kill off a Scorpius. Hiking Iron Gut does his normal thing, Angry Mob does his normal mana accumulation. The banner is also set up to quickly get up the Essence of Evil and the Angry Mob, particularly the Angry Mob, as this is the more important one of the two. And yeah, just keep double killing Scorpius kills off the poisons, Hiking Iron Gut doing his thing, Essence of Evil disable, all the standard things. Anyways, next up we have the Pure Faction. Pure Faction for this place is, we are getting a new troop this Friday. Obviously I can't show it with this thing in here, though you could replace out one of the Deep Kings with that troop if you so choose, or even switch up the team a little bit if you wanted to. However, this is still perfectly fine. This is what is generally done, just kind of kill it out with Deep King. You even triple up on Deep King. You can incorporate the one other troop and basically just run like Hammerclaw, the new troop double Deep King or something similar. But basically we have Hammerclaw here, which is here for score reduction. You don't actually ever cast his ability unless he's about to die. If you can end up casting the ability and get a whole additional hit of durability, as in you will not die if they hit you with one more skull, but you will die if they hit you with one more skull. Like if you could bring your kill range from 1 to death to 2 to death, is generally the only time when you want to cast it, is when he's in one-shot range, you want to move him to 2. And basically, this thing ends up doing a bunch of mana accumulation, not required, as you can just, take mana from the board. However, if you want a little bit extra, of course, this can miss, but you generally throw most of his buffs on the Hammer Claw to make sure it doesn't die, or on other things on your team if they happen to have like a back hitter or anything else you might need to keep alive. And the main premise of the team is just keep spamming Deep King until you win. Ends up doing a bunch of true damage to 2 random enemies. The new troop that we're getting this Friday also does true damage, so you can synergize it in that regard, as these other 2 don't have true damage, but now we're going to have a new option that does. That can synergize with the Deep King, and he also gives a bunch of attack. While this isn't too relevant, if you have a battle that's going on for a little while, it does stack up to be a little bit, and if you're in a very sketchy situation, Bloodlust combined with this triggering at least like 10 times over the course of a fight with 2 of them on your team, you end up stacking up quite a bit of additional attack. In that situation, 60 additional attack, with Enrage is basically 90 additional attack, so definitely adds up. Might not seem like much, but adds up pretty quickly over the course of a longer fight, as some of those fights tend to be, especially when you're doing like the final fight of the level 500 Pure Faction, depending on how much potions you have and all that. But anyways, that's the weekend event. Next, we already had the one shown for Explore, but of course, just to reiterate, this is specifically just to get the objectives done for the current campaign week. Of course, there's campaign tasks every single week that have various requirements, like use Hammer, use Sentinel Hero class, use that banner, stuff like that. It's mostly just to get those done really quick. If you need like the Brown kills, I believe is this week, or Skia kills, you can use for all those kind of things. There are a few that it doesn't cover, like for example, use a Pure or Skia team. However, for Pure Skia team, you could pretty much just use a revamped version, or even literally the exact version of what you would use for a Thursday class event. So generally, whatever you're using for Thursday class event, almost always, though not always, you can end up like slightly tweaking or literally just using the exact thing for the objective as well, for the Monday weekly objective. And aside from that, I figured we show a Guai team. So let's actually go show a few of these and start with the Guai team. So main reason for Guai is in the Soulforge this week. Of course, we covered that in the other video. However, he is in Soulforge. While I generally don't advise crafting legendaries, this is one of a few exceptions that is so strong that it might be worth considering. So let's just go get ourselves into an explore here and just kind of show it off. So let's go over to our Guai over here. And I am using this for their Scale Crown for 2 reasons. One is, well, it's their Scale week. You get it just from, completing out the kingdom. And it is their Scale week, so might as well show it with that. I normally use it with Flame of Fur. But the other reason is, of course, he's in Soulforge. So great week to go and end up accumulating him. So basically what we're going to go do here is get our purple alignment. We do our Empower off of Summer, which not only sets up Red Storm, but also allows us to convert all brown to red, which basically gets everything rolling. And Guai is kind of insane as far as what it ends up getting to do value-wise. The main reason being is that it does all of its checks pretty much preemptively. Like, it ends up stealing the magic, but that magic instantly gets calculated into how much damage he ends up doing. He also gets to create purple to red, which not only feeds him to himself, but other things on the team, but also synergizes into his life steal. Ends up stealing some life from the first enemy every single time you match red gems, and well, he's creating a bunch of red, and he's gaining a bunch of magic, so he's scaling his HP over time, which does more damage. He's scaling his magic over time, which retroactively instantly calculates for additional damage, which is doing more damage, and he's hitting 2 things simultaneously, basically double killing into another double kill, and you basically double into the win. We have Queen Titania here, who is for every... whenever there's 13 plus red on the board, it'll end up hitting extra turn, and you basically just keep doing that until they're dead, and that's pretty much standard Guai right there. And yeah, really strong team. Among one of the strongest that is doable with no mythics as well. And one of my personal favorite that has still been pretty meta over the years. I would say slightly less so in the current state of the game, but it's definitely not bad. Of course, it gets hard countered by freeze, but most teams like that do. And a lot of them don't carry an option to necessarily counter it. So, next team I want to go show, there were 2 other ones. Oh yeah, I wanted to go show the World Event one. So this one's kind of funny if you haven't actually used Princess Elspeth for a while or ever. Princess Elspeth, really old meta troop. There's so many better mana accumulators these days, but there is one really funny strategy so you can still do. And that is, if you kill something of pure color, you will end up... Oh, that's a little bit of a bad hit there, but if you end up doing something of pure color, you can end up getting guaranteed that mana, because otherwise it'll hit a random one of their manas. So essentially, you can accumulate a ton of that mana and then just kind of go crazy with casting. So right here, we're just going to go get double Tesla set up. I'm not sure if we actually have enough damage to kill this out. I sure hope we do. It looks like we're going to be slightly short, which is a little unfortunate. Let me preemptively start getting the second Tesla then. Of course, this is intended for the World Event, where you're going to have an absurd amount of extra damage this week due to the metals boosting you up. Generally, Tesla isn't used too much for high-level Explore and stuff like that, as you saw there, she normally requires 3 casts instead of 2. However, for the current word event, which is what this team is intended for, she'll be 1-shotting and 2-shotting essentially the entire time due to all the extra spell damage that you'll have from your medals, so it'll be really easy to end up doing it out that way. Anyways, next up, I guess we'll show one more, and I do not know which one I actually wanted to show. I actually completely forget which one I wanted to show now. Let's see. Which one's a fun one? I'm trying to see what we have from everything. That's pretty standard. We showed almost most weeks. So that's a little bit of a different variant. I guess we could, speaking of different variant, I guess that's the one we could actually end up showing. Where is this one? This one. So, High King, Iron Gut, Essence of Evil, Angry Mob, and Scorpious. Of course, this is intended for factions where you would have a High King Iron Gut that would most likely, if not guaranteed, have a over 100 attack value. Obviously, outside of factions, he is a little bit lower, meaning it's going to be a bit more luck-based when you're first starting that out. This team actually initially wants to be taking red of all colors, oddly enough, mostly because of Angry Mob. You want to be getting that going. We do have Scorpius doing his trigger, which is kind of fun. He does, of course, all his +1 to all browns. We can end up doing this to disable whatever the biggest threat is. We can also hit it for a backline option to end up getting the poison there if you want to go kill a Scorpius. So more often than not, you're using it on whatever the biggest threat is in a lot of situations. So, of course, we are getting a poison every single time we end up going and taking a purple from the board. So we can actually do here set up for a Scorpius, and as you can see there, even if they have immune to it, you can still get the curse, and then boom, kill that out, and basically get your double kill for Scorpius. And you basically run through really high level delves this way and just kind of kill them out as need be by setting it up. And I might as well show it one more time for this one. But you basically set up into Essence of Evil on anything that has immune to poison. Use your natural poison that you get every single time you take purple, and just kind of go from there. So first thing you're looking for, take reds. Ideally, take reds, take greens. You're trying to get the initial mana going. From there, you're basically looking to end up getting all your mana down. And then once you have all your mana, you go for your Iron Gut. Basically kill out what the bigger threats are. Unfortunately, not getting the hit there, but of course in factions, you'll have a much higher rate. If anything is impervious, you go and target them down as you need, so that you can not only guarantee get them poisoned, but even do so through immunities, which is always good. And pretty much it's good to go. We get that down, we get our double kill, and unfortunately it does not die to the Cascade there, but a single mana accumulation will end up killing him out, and we're good to go. Just be careful that your Iron Gut doesn't die before it gets rolling. Assuming you have 100 attack in the faction, which in most situations you will, or at least pretty close to it. You can also run attack medals if you happen to be a little bit short. You can end up doing that, getting your first Devour, and once it gets its first Devour, it will most likely not end up dying then. Anyways, guys, that is all the teams for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. As per usual, every single one of these teams will be in the description if you want to go and copy-paste any of them. If you haven't already, also go check the other video where we go over Soulforge and all the other normal stuff throughout the week. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.